So in a lot of these cases, it's really the social media that brings the real issues, the important issues, to the attention of the public. Because if it were for the social media, for the traditional media will not cover it. Again, I remind you of the example that I talked about the other day with the guy that was just tortured to death basically 2 days ago. There was not a single traditional journalist on the scene. They were all social media people. Social media, I guess civic journalists are the ones who brought the whole story to life. Nobody talked about it in the traditional media. There are multiple incidences of that nature that I can keep bringing examples to you, left and right, but that whole area of bringing a voice to a whole section of the population and to a whole different plethora of issues that nobody dared to talk about in the traditional media, that were brought about by the power of social media. And I think that's a very, very important use of the social media in our part of the world. That is so different from that in the West, because in the West that's not a big deal. I mean, you have multiple venues to discuss things and demonstrate and whatever. It would never cross the minds of somebody in the Egyptian regime or in any other regime to bring the editor-in-chief to a meeting and sit with them and try to convince them not to run a story, and the editor-in-chief would not listen. How beautiful! I mean, to me, this is just wow. I really want to be there someday. No, seriously, I really would love to see that happen in our countries, and I have good reason to believe that we might just be able to bring that about. In a few years. Of course, it's not going to happen overnight, but that is what we're after, and that's what we're determined to do. And I think social media are very important tools that hopefully would enable us to achieve that someday.
See if this works. I would agree that social media has freed up a lot of information, a lot of pictures, a lot of opinions that may not have been freely available before. As for actually freeing up the media, giving them more freedom, I would say basically no. There's no question but that they are reporting things differently, and they have access to a lot more different type of information. In fact, like the Gulf News will do a poll, and they will have 15,000 respondents within 24 hours. So they have a little bit more of a feel of how their readership feels. Those of us who have done surveys and research here for these papers, I mean, wouldn't you love to have 15,000 respondents within 24 hours? No. But as for whether they have changed how they can cover things and what they actually cover, we're not quite like Egypt where they get beat up, but it's more subtle in the UAE in that they will all of a sudden find that their work visa has been revoked for some bureaucratic reason, not because they ran a story that wasn't approved. It's more subtle. And we have